treading on what your question was, but I just wanted to make the point that I think the 1919 Black Sox coming off that list is almost a much bigger deal. How are we doing, buddy? How's it going? How are your ears feeling?
That just hurt my. Not good.
I watched you take your headphones out.
I
want you to know I had my headset set to 100% volume, and I almost fell right out my fucking chair. Whoops.
I just messed. I'm trying to get the story up here at the same time.
That's fine. Sorry. I'm sorry. I caused problems, but if someone doesn't cause problems, we'll probably never use that again. But we had to use it once.
Yeah. Hang on. Gotta make sure everything's all.
All right. This is live production for you. Nothing goes right.
Something like that.
We were delayed because I was caught up at work today and had to do a few errands after work, and then Alex's camera decided to be a fwank and didn't want to work. Yes, I use non-real words. That's how frustrated I am with the situation, Alex.
I appreciate it, but damn.
By the way, can we see if we can get the originator yelling Fuenco? Someone has to have an audio recording of that, right? From our friend group.
Something like that, right?
I'll reach out to everyone via sources, per sources. I was trying to find a good way to reply to your tweet, which was fantastic. I liked the per sources. You should have tagged both of us as the sources.
Yeah,
that would have been.
We're learning the Twitter machine as we go here.
But I like the per sources. I think that was a good one.
I almost put that on my thing, and I'm like, yeah, no.
That would have been funny as well.
I put it on mine. I'm like, that's not the right. It's not the right Instagram. So.
Very different worlds. It's part of the reason
I don't put anything on there. So
part of the reason I don't have the Instagram.
I didn't even when I saw the group chat where we send all of our memes. I knew I fucked up. So
fair.
But the crisis hopefully averted. So
hopefully.
Yeah, no, I deleted that. We're good.
All right. Stream Insider says we're live.
That's weird.
Per sources. You should have seen how many different times I would let you tag me.
I haven't even looked. But we're here.
So, as I said last week, before we got into the trivia, how we're going to kind of break things up as we get into the proverbial season 2, as it were. You'll see a few things changing here and there. We'll try out a few different backgrounds and things like that as well. We'll still continue talking about life working in sports because, I mean, at the end of the day, that's our lives. That's who we are, how we are, how we get here. We go from there to here by being in sports. That's how we became friends. We've both worked in multiple markets, multiple cities, and multiple states. So it's kind of a fun thing that I know, when I talk to my high school friends, they're always like, oh, man, you've been, kind of all over the place in the short 10 years since we've been out of high school. And I'm like, yeah, that's the industry I'm in. That's how it goes. But I definitely think what we'll do is we'll have a couple more serious weeks. We'll have a couple less serious weeks, and it'll also depend on how the sports world's shaping up because it never truly sleeps like anything else.
Yeah, you have a period of where it slows down, and then you just start ramping up. Even when it's just depends on when your off season truly starts, depending on where you're at.
It also depends on what you're what sport you work in, / the sports you're locked into. Because the sport I probably follow the least, and I will say this with all honesty, is the NFL and football in general. But realistically, especially now that you have spring leagues, and I follow arena football more so now than I ever have, or I did a little bit as a kid, and then obviously working in arena really revived that love for the game, I think. But you have your NFL season that's by mid-July they're already in training camps and everything. And then you go through early February, you have the NFL, right? The NFL gets into their off season. You have your spring leagues, your arena leagues that are kind of really heating up in that window, and then you have the NFL draft. What, like 3 weeks ago now? Was it really that long?
About 2, a little over
And
2.
then, well, we're still in the heat of the arena leagues, the spring league. Although I haven't watched a second of spring league football, that's neither here nor there. And then you have the OTAs, the optional team stuff, and then like rookie mini camps are coming up, fast and furious. Which, by the way, the NFL schedule dropped last night. And this is one thing I wanted to talk about as someone that doesn't really follow the NFL, but because I work in an NFL city. Let me tell you, I locked in on 2 specific games that the Bengals have because they're home games on a weekend that we will have home games. And the potential that we could play the same day as them is scary because it's late season. So they could either be dog water, not in the playoff race at all, and it'll still be full because of the Bengals, or they could be really good, and it'll be full, and it'll be a pain in the ass to get downtown to go to work or whatever because of that. Because, like, the last 2 weeks, the Christmas week and the week after, we have a home game on the Saturday, both times. So, and that's a potential game day for the Bengals, with the last week being the Browns week. So I want to go to the game. So I want them to flex that game so I can go to the game. But that's kind of like the thing that I looked at. Like the first thing I looked at was and when the Reds drop their schedule every year, I do the same thing. I look at the schedule I have and I say, do we conflict? Because do we conflict means a lot. Because I don't want to have to be dealing with Reds traffic or Bengals traffic, like going to work, you know? I don't live downtown, so if I'm downtown, it's because I have to be. And when they have their game days, they're top-tier teams. So, obviously, the city's out to the nines on them, which is fine. I respect that. It's part of why I work in sports, because I love that people have that much passion for a team. And they'll let it ruin their lives for 6-7 months a year. And yes, I say ruin your lives for 6-7 months a year because I really do believe that fandoms, you feel like your lives ruined, but because of your true, just passionate love that is there.
Yeah, and I want to pivot back to the off season a bit, because I know for you and I being on 2 different aspects of a front office, it goes very like. I know for me, like we've had an off season plan that we work on and then slowly roll out, and I know on your side, you slowly start thinking about next season towards the end of the schedule anyway.
Yeah, so I can tell you from working in hockey, every stop I've had, your off season like begins usually February 1st. Now, as far as you're selling for the next year, like a lot of that stuff, and again, I'm still a low peon, so my manager and his manager, they're probably working on it even longer than that. And the box office people are working on it even longer than that. But, like, come the end of January, early February, I'm starting to be like, all right, like, here's my clients. Are you renewing? If you're not renewing, why? If you are renewing, what sort of plan do you want, knowing that we're not going to have a schedule for you? We're not going to have a promo schedule for you. So you won't know when the games are. You won't know what the events are, who we're playing. Like, Those three big things. You won't know it. Like, you have to buy on blind faith. Like, and roughly, I always tell people plan next year based off this year's schedule. Because that's something that was known, right? Like, we knew what this year's schedule was. So that was the thing I was telling all my clients during the end of last year when they were thinking about renewing or they were renewing. Like, if they were a partial plan, what sort of partial plan were they getting? Things of that nature was coming down to. They'd ask me questions. I'm like, I don't know what days we're going to play because it's not my job. My job is to sell you a hockey ticket. I will do what I can to sell you hockey tickets. But that's it. That's all I got for you. I'm not on the marketing side. I'm selling tickets. I'm servicing your account and I'm selling you tickets. Like that is what I do all day, every day. I send emails. I make phone calls. I talk to people, trying to make sure that you have a good experience. And I'm finding groups. I'm finding other season ticket holders. If I'm lucky, I can find a corporate sponsor. I've not done that yet, but knock on wood, I will get a corporate sponsorship under my belt at some point. And I mean, that's kind of what my off season is, right? Like, right now I'm kind of looking at companies and other affinity groups that might be potentially interested. And now that I have a schedule, it's a little easier for me to be like, hey, here's the dates. Do any of these work? I actually have like 7 or 8 people I have to reach out to tomorrow. Speaking of which, because this is how my brain works. Like, I think of things at weird times, and that's just part of being in this industry and being a salesman specifically in this industry.
Happy schedule release day. That's big.
Oh, by the way, I absolutely love watching the other teams' schedule release videos and stuff. Like, a lot of the teams did like AI or Worcester specifically did a Chef Boyardee. The Chef Boyardee ad from like 2002. That's how they did the schedule release. You should watch it if you haven't. I thought it was really good. A lot of teams do the here are our opponents, what are their names? That was made popular by the Titans a couple years ago. A lot of teams do that.
Yeah, that was the one where people had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. By the way, I think that concept's funnier in minor leagues because like there's a much higher chance that people actually have no fucking clue who the team is. Because like if you're not really super locked in on the minor leagues, like if you just show me a logo for a minor league team, now I think I'm pretty good at naming logos. The future quiz idea here, Alex. Cook that one up. But
what are you quizzing me on?
Oh, I was gonna say, have you pull some random minor league logos and like edit out the names and see how many I can get. I think that'd be a fun one.
Just kind of like how people they kind of tap into what's relevant. So I saw like a few Minecraft graphics ones.
Yep, the NFL did a lot of the Minecrafts. AI imagery is also a good one. I enjoy those. I think the creativity of saying, all right, well, here is our schedule, right? Like they send out the PDFs and the images and whatever, so you can screenshot it, put it on your phone, whatever you choose to do. And then you have the other people that are like, you son of a bitch, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a video. The man on the street style interview. I like the memes. The Chargers, they're on like year 3 of doing their opponents as Pop-Tart flavors. And I think that's a great one. I love that one.
I know the Steelers did like a Sasquatch hunting one
I
this
didn't
year. They kind of
I didn't watch the Steelers one. I have to go back and watch more of them. But that's kind of the things I love, and like I may not be on the marketing side, but I like consuming that sort of content. So I'm glad that the marketers in the leagues as a whole do that. Just because I think it's
I know the Chargers are usually the perennial winners of the, if you want to call it, contest of that,
Bears.
so to speak. Where
What did they do?
the
They
Chargers
did the
usually go
MMA video
nuts
like
with theirs.
last year, right? That was wicked good.
Yeah, they've done a few over. They've done a few of those, and then they've always kind of done like their media team is always cooking something.
Yeah,
That's
no,
kind of what I was going at.
I enjoy their content greatly, and I'm happy that it's good, because when it's good, I'm happy, and when I'm happy, I realize that I'm not necessarily the targeted demographic for that stuff, because let's be real, I'm also in the industry. I'm also within the industry, so I'm looking at everything just a little bit different. We've covered that 3, 4, 5 times at this point, but I think another big thing about the off season is this is the time where I get to kind of clear my mind when I'm off work. Like during the season, when even if I go on vacation, go home, go back to Boston, you sit there and you go, there's something I needed to do today because it's in season and I'm that busy. So like this is the time of year where I get to sit back, relax, and hang out, have a good time, and really get to enjoy whatever hobbies that I still have.
Yeah, 'cause at some point you're gonna hit the ramp and you're just gonna start sprinting when you were jogging. So you gotta work your jog back to a sprint at whatever timeline that is.
And being able to have this is the biggest thing I want to talk about today. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I don't know what you have for hobbies, especially when we were working at the arena team together. What you did in your off time as hobbies that kind of centered you, right? Obviously, I know you had video games. I think every adult man over the age of every adult man under the age of 50 probably plays video games, and that's their number one relaxer. Do you? This is a legitimate question. Like I play card games, like Magic and Pokemon. Like I like to think. I know. I relax by thinking more. That's a fucking normal statement. I like those sort of card games and things. That's one of my favorite hobbies is playing Magic: The Gathering, because it's having me think in a very different way. It was something that I started playing in high school, and then I really got into in college. Like when I'd have a big paper to write or something, I would literally fuck off in the middle of writing my paper and go play Magic with my friends. Because most of my friends were engineering majors, so all their work was truly practical. So they'd be like, "Oh, I just want to blow off some steam, play some Magic." Great, I have a 40-page paper I'm writing right now. Let me fuck off and go play Magic for an hour or two. And I would come back and I would actually reread my paper, and some of the best editing I ever did was when I'd come back and get to approach the project with a clear mind. So, fast forwarding to connecting this to sports and not just saying the F-bomb like 30 times, which I hope you put a counter in. That'd be kind of funny. It'll be too high, though, by the end of this.
You might as well put a jar next to my desk, and then you just
Just
send me currency to find
Yeah.
there so I can
A
profit
swear
off
jar.
of your language.
Can I pay you in bottle caps?
No, that's not a legal form of currency.
It is if you try hard enough. But so, and I was thinking about it a lot today. So today's May 15th. Do you know what happened 6 years ago today?
Something to do with Manchester.
Yeah, so the Monarchs, they officially folded May 15th, 2019. That was my last day at work. in Manchester. We were going to be rolling out renewals. It was scheduled day just like today was. And it was the hardest day. Now, I went to the Revolution Chelsea game that day because it was down at Gillette. My buddy got us tickets. So I will never forget that day. But I was home from work by 1 o'clock that day. I never left work early. A single day in my life, I never left work early. I was home by 1 o'clock that day. But the point was, like, when I worked in Manchester and when I worked at the arena team, I would go play Magic all the time. Like, that was the thing that centered me when I'd be off work, so that when I went back the next morning or the next week, depending on what day of the week I was playing Magic, / what our game schedule and everything looked like, I think I had my most productive days that, like, I usually played on Thursday nights, so either Friday or Saturday, some of my most productive days of a week, because I was able to step back from the grind that is working in sports and just go relax and play a card game and, like, just hang out for a few hours. And I think that was one of the things that I'm glad I learned early enough in my career. Finding things to do that weren't related to sports at all. Like, I still play the sports video games and all that stuff, but sometimes it feels like work. Like, I'll be trying to manage something like, this is my job. This is what I get paid for. This is supposed to be fun.
I mean, I think going back to the arena days, it's like there were days where we had legitimately nothing going on. Like, you and the sales guys would crush whatever you guys had to do. I had nothing to do, so I usually had one thing to do, and then I spun around on the conference table for 3 hours. But it was kind of like some teams make it a productive kind of ramp down, and then other teams just, like, it kind of shows kind of where every front office is at. But I think most teams have that slow productive burn, and then obviously we worked in the 1% that obviously just let you sit around. We had nothing to do until the ownership showed up at 5 o'clock on a random Tuesday.
We worked in just that was a very weird situation. Everything about that job was just weird. Like, I thought it was weird from the rip. I'm not saying anything bad about it, because let's be real, I wouldn't be where I am today without that position. I wouldn't have some of the best friends I have today without that position. I wouldn't have had the opportunity to come out here to Cincinnati without that position. I wouldn't have potentially wouldn't have even gotten back into sports if I hadn't gotten that position. So, like, I'm not saying bad things about the job or the company, but just, like, getting used to the fact that you hit the nail on the head. Every company's culture is different. I think that's just the world we live in. Every company's culture is different. I think it's just magnified even more in sports because it's such a small, interlaced industry. Like, I can tell you, we did sales training. The league I work in works with a sales trainer, and I started in Manchester. Like, they did it on, like, a Thursday. I started on Monday, so I didn't sales train in Manchester. I then was out of sports from 2019 to 2022. Yeah. Because the Monarchs had folded, I couldn't get a job, and like COVID, like that just kind of existed, killed jobs in general in sport. And then got the job at the arena team. We didn't do any sales training at all, which was the worst thing about that job, in my opinion. But so I'm moving out to Cincinnati. I literally missed the sales trainer by 1 day. If I'd come to work 1 day earlier, I would have been with the sales trainer. So fast forward to my next summer, a sales trainer comes through, and he makes a joke about, you constantly missed me, and now you're here. By the way, some of the most productive work I've ever done is being mentored by that sales trainer. For those, I've met with him twice because we've had 2 training sessions at work. We do about 1 a year, and I expect the third one to be coming any day now, in the next few months. But the point was like he immediately knew. Like obviously, I think he did his homework and research. He was like, "Oh, you were with that arena team. What people have told me is it's awful. Like the culture's bad, whatever." And I was like, honestly, what you've been told is probably pretty damn accurate. I liked the job. I'm not going to say a bad thing about the guy or the people I worked with because it got me to where I am today, and that's how I live my life. That's how I choose to live my life. I'm thankful for
You're
every
also going to say
opportunity.
I'm right here too, so you don't want to say that publicly, but
What?
I'm right here, bro. So
I know.
so
I know.
one of those people is right here.
I know. But I'm telling you what I told him because genuinely that's how I feel. I love what I do, and I'm more productive every year and every day because of sales training, and that's part of the off season for a salesman. You usually do some sort of sales training. It's a lot of prospecting your groups and sales training. We did really none of that at the arena team, and that was just as much my fault as anyone else on that team because I didn't take the initiative. Won't lie to you. That was bad. But coming back to a much more organized league, being the minor league the minor league hockey compared to the arena football, I felt the culture shift like that, and I shifted in my head like that when I got here. So I think that was kind of the other point I was trying to make. Like the magnifying glass of every culture is different, and really being able to drill into it with something that I could show as a real work product, so to speak. I know I used a lot of big words there.
A lot of words there, but I think on my side it's like we had more of a thorough in-season plan than we ever did for the off-season. And I think the so it's like in-season the push for a lot of video was very clear. So like we're putting video out, 3 days a week at least, multiple, and then they'd back off for graphics and photos and whatever else that we didn't use. Just trying to find things we didn't use and utilize it. But and then so I'd just be like, all right, let's figure out. In my mind, I knew when I'd start getting ready for players to come back. It would be around that New Year's, like Thanksgiving to New Year's. It kind of trickles, and then January 1st, it all speeds up because the guys are coming in February, get going in March. So it's like
I would say
I knew when my ramp would be.
Valentine's Day, right?
Yeah, so it'd be like the apex of the ramp would be like that Valentine's Day, President's Day ish range.
Because I started
Whereas
on the 3rd of January, so I was right there. I started right at the beginning of the ramp.
I'd say it'd be like we were kind of taking the first steps up. We were kind of climbing that ramp. Maybe the first, you said like we just put our foot on the ramp. We weren't like pressing on the pedal or anything yet.
Because I know we were making big. I stepped in with a big season ticket push on the move at that point.
I forgot they were talking about that year. Yeah.
We, the director there, he had worked with me in Manchester. I know I've told this story a time or two, but he knew that you had to push stuff even when there was not necessarily a known work product. Like there wasn't a known guaranteed product. Like we're playing. Like I can guarantee you we're playing. But I don't know who we're playing. I don't know when we're playing. And that was the hardest thing for me until I was here. Like once I got here, I got
there was no where.
Exactly. There's no where. It's just who and when. And being able to eliminate, going back to the 3rd grade here for a second. Remember when you taught to write your sentences or write like questions or something? I don't remember what the actual lesson was because when the last time I was in the 3rd grade was. It was 2004, I think. Right? I was in kindergarten in 01, so first grade in 02.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, I'd
Second
be
grade in 03.
06.
Yeah, so like 04, 05 was when I was in. So it's been 20 years since I've been in the third grade. But remember, you were always told, remember that when writing questions and paragraphs or whatever, again, I'm trying to remember something I learned 20 years ago. The point of it is the questions you always ask are who, what, when, where, why, and how. But who, what, when, where, why. And when looking at that on my side as a salesman, the who, it's us, it's my team, right? The what, we're playing hockey. When, okay, I don't got those yet. Well, I have them now because it was scheduled release day today. But so I now have a who, a what, and a when, and a where. You get your when and where together. Why? Because hockey's goddamn fantastic and a great way to spend time with your family. It's not actually how I saw it on the phone, because I don't use those words, but that's basically what I say when like a family calls me and asks, like, I'm thinking about season tickets. Great. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. Like, let me find more information that'll make you connect with my product so that you want it more, number one. And number two, oh, you're a PTO at this middle school. You want a PTO's like fundraising, right? You want to do a cool fundraiser? I'm your dude. Like, that's... So that lesson I learned in the third grade is something I use way more now than I ever thought I would when, I was in the third grade. And I assume you apply some of those principles with, like, your graphics and stuff, like trying to highlight those things.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild when you step back and think about, like... Sorry, I know I'm ranting now, but it's kind of wild, like,
I kind of do
back
it
on that shit now.
I do it with some of the players that still reach out to me. Is like they're obviously in different situations now, but it's still like, how do you want? What's the most important thing you need prospective teams to see? How do you want that organized? And like, what else do you need? Like, what's going to sell you to a team in the best light? So it's kind of like on my end, and then the context that back to the arena side of, oh, this guy played at, Ohio State. Cool. I don't know who he is. Oh, he played for the Jets. That's cool too. It's like we're trying to sell guys that nobody's heard of, and get them excited to come see these players.
And I think
unless they're a recurring fan favorite, like, you have no idea.
I was gonna say, I think part of it is like, let's look at one guy that I actually was a big fan of. Started off the season a step slow. He played at Purdue. That's fucking cool. Like, he was not bad either. Like, he just wasn't the number one guy. He just wasn't the number one guy there. He was a good wide receiver. He just wasn't number one. And realistically, if you're not wide receiver 1 or 2, you're probably not seeing the NFL if you're not wide receiver 1 or 2 on your college team.
Maybe a 3 if she could return a little bit. If you had some other value outside of.
Obviously, there's the guy that played for the Saints for who knows how long that went to Assumption College. Fun fact.
Yeah.
I saw him play at Assumption College. Fun fact. I went to one Assumption College football game, and he was in the game that day. It was my sister's freshman year.
It's almost like that Mormon quarterback that you're so fond of.
Oh, you mean my guy Taysom Hill? We haven't talked about it on the podcast, but I'm going to say it now. Remember like a year ago when I had the take that he is kind of a cheat code at fantasy football? Because he's just so damn good at football, and he will do what needs to be done for the team.
If you're in the NFL, you are good at football, so let's just preface that too.
I think that was also one of my takes. You're arguably very good at the sport if you're in the NFL. If you're in the top league of your sport, the NHL, NFL, the EPL, I'm going to say that's the best soccer league, the MLB, the NBA, I'm probably missing some. But if you're in the top league for your sport, you are arguably very, very good. If you're in a minor league for your sport, you are arguably very, very good at your sport. If
If you get
if you're
you
to
get
the point where you're
compensated
getting
to play a
paid
sport.
to play the sport, exactly, you are arguably very, very good at the sport. And so I think it's funny, like, I'll hear it from fans all the time, and it's like, guys like, oh, he's a bum. Bro, I wish, I'm not going to say you wish, I wish I had 1/10 of that dude's talent. I wish I had 1/10 of that dude's talent. And I think about that, like, when I look at baseball, right? Baseball is a great example. I think most people will watch a game, see a guy who's slumping, he's batting 160 for a period of time, right? On the verge of being sent down. And people go, oh, I could do better than that. No, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. Sorry. Most people, unless you happen to have played Division I college baseball, you probably couldn't do better than that. I had this conversation with a kid that I used to work with who had played Division I college baseball. And that's what I asked. I was like, so do you think he's like, no, the average person can't hit an MLB pitcher 160. That was basically what he said. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, that is straight to the point. Thank you. That being said, Alex.
Right?
What?
With that, it's like how people that say that, how many people have actually, like, I'm not saying like held a bat and stared down a major league pitcher, but have stood in a box and just watched a professional fastball come through.
Hell, we were at the batting cages, 2 years ago now? 3 years ago now?
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, neither of us had hit in a long time. We're very late on 70-mile-an-hour fastballs.
Yeah, that was about where I became a pitcher. Only at that point is when I couldn't see 70. I was, all right, I'll throw 70. That's fine.
I can tell you the fastest pitch I hit was 81. Like, as a batter.
I think So
I was in the 8th grade, though, and good at sports still.
So my last at bat in high school was against one of the White Sox relief pitchers. Current White Sox relief pitchers. He's pumping like low 90s at that point. I'm just like, I managed to fly out to right field against that, and I didn't know what I was swinging at.
It was like when we play MLB The Show, and you're like, I'm swinging now.
The funny thing is, unlike MLB The Show, I worked a 3-0 count and then I swung.
Like, I think if I actually like hit cages very consistently, I could probably start seeing 80, 90 miles an hour and actually foul it off. I'm not saying I would hit it, but I'd be able to actually see the baseball.
I think realistically, the average person, if I'm assuming this is like off the street, step in the box, I could hit 90 right now, right?
Yeah, I think most people think. I think that's the sort of person. Which, find me a pitcher that can throw 90. Find me a pitcher that can throw 90. Give me 10 at bats. I bet I foul 2 of them. I foul 2 pitches off. I'd say that right now. I think today
you'd probably be
in 10
beyond late.
I'd be way beyond late. But I think I could. It also depends on what's your arm mechanics, what's your leg kick look like. Like, because if I could get those timings down, I might have a fucking chance.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that I've noticed with people. Because, like you, I bet in live ABs, I could probably hit you pretty easily these days. Because, A, you're out of shape pitching-wise.
Yeah. I haven't thrown off a mound in 10 years.
By the way, let's make that happen.
All right.
I smell content. Or sadness.
You've been marinating some ideas about live things.
I look. I'll go buy a bat at Five Below with the intent of it breaking because that'd be funny, and I'll hit live ABs off you, and
Yeah,
I bet I get a hit off you, and by a hit I mean a ball in play that gets past you. Let's be very clear what I'm calling a hit in this instance.
I gotta have to get up. Yeah, so I sent a memo to the family if they come in the office while they're cooking over here to at least notify me that they're coming in.
Fair.
Nah, didn't happen.
That's fine. That's fine. I appreciate
But
seeing your family like pop in and out. I think it's funny.
I need
It's a mini game I play.
divider.
It's a mini game I play.
Well, I didn't mean to do that. I like logged out of my computer for 2 seconds.
Whoops.
I was trying to go to the document that I've been like scratching ideas on.
You mean the one that I literally have up?
I have it up on 2 screens now, and I just realized that, but it's fine.
Good job, bud.
So how was traffic on the streets yesterday?
Okay, Pete Rose Day.
announcement.
Okay, so the MLB is really good about doing really notorious for doing like 2 promos at a time. So yesterday was already like the advertisements I was getting fed was like NASCAR night. Like they had like a racing night last night. They also were doing Pete Rose night. So they pulled a ton of people from 2 very different affinity groups. Realistically. And they gave out Pete Rose jerseys, which were kind of cool, but I'm really glad I didn't go. Let me tell you, I left work early yesterday. We left about 4:30, 4:25-ish. It was the first time in a long time I sat in traffic on Mering Way. Right behind the ballpark because I go up to 75. So I go behind the ballpark, I go behind Paycor. I sat in so much traffic yesterday, and traffic coming south down 75 towards downtown. Like, it's usually backed up to Hopple Street or beyond, but not usually 74. I swear to you, yesterday it was backed up to 74 and beyond. Like, it was like when 2 years ago when the Yankees came to town on the Saturday game. Me and the girlfriend went. We came downtown an hour and a half before first pitch because I had parking. Like, I asked work, they gave me parking. They were like, yeah, sure, we got you. So I wasn't too worried. I literally sat in traffic downtown for like almost an hour. We almost missed the first pitch of the game, and we left with like over an hour before the game. And I live 13 minutes from the stadium. Maybe 13 minutes from the stadium. You've done that drive from my place to to Great American
on a Bengals game day, nonetheless.
You did it on a Bengals game day?
That was in the offseason, but on a Bengals game day, I think we've hit. Yeah, because it was when we saw the UC Dayton game.
Yes, true. And that was when the game was going on.
That was like
you also did it for a Reds game because you picked me up for a couple Reds games.
Yeah, but I think I saw some of the Instagram photos post that game yesterday. So
someone compared it to Reds opening day, which was a terrible comparison because it was nothing like Reds opening day. As far as like
Reds opening days all the time.
As far as like busyness in the stadium, maybe it was like that. But as far as like just like downtown, like it was busy, but like kind of like if the Yankees are in town, the Dodgers are in town, like the big name teams when they're in town, and the tickets go from being dirt cheap to not so dirt cheap.
See, I was trying to find the Reds posted like a drone shot.
Yeah, it looked
the home plate gate or something.
Let's just say the Banks was pretty packed. And, like, having been down there yesterday, I will agree, the Banks were pretty packed. I wouldn't call it opening day-esque because downtown on the Banks, on opening day, you can't even friggin' walk on the Banks. You're, like, just, like, shuffling like an NPC in a video game in a space that's far too crowded. Like, there's people, like, this close, like, where my hands are, there'd be people. Like, I didn't even go downtown for opening day this year because I didn't get tickets or anything. But I'm sorry I keep yawning. It's been a long week. It's been a very, very, very long week.
But kind of going back to that, I know big news of the week probably was just the fact he's off the lifetime ban list.
So,
but that raises a question to me. This comes up with a question for me, right?
Before you get to that, the biggest name that came off the lifetime ban list, in my opinion, is not Pete Rose. I think Shoeless Joe Jackson getting off the lifetime ban list is a bigger deal than Pete Rose. And frankly, the whole 8 men out from the 1919 White Sox, I think, is a bigger deal than Pete Rose. Because they served lifetime plus bans from baseball. Right? And the plus is like almost a whole lifetime. Maybe not almost a whole lifetime. They were banned in 1930. We'll call it they were banned in 1925, right? I'm picking a year. I don't remember what year they were actually banned. It's been like 100 years since they were banned from baseball. So they served the lifetime plus basically another lifetime on their bans. Whereas Pete Rose was banned in what, 1990?
89.
Oh, dude, I'm off by 1 year. That's not bad. But
I did research on it.
And he died, what, 4 months ago at the longest? Again.
Yeah. Actually, I had it up.
So he also served lifetime plus, but the fact that Manfred used him as the catalyst to pull the other guys off the lifetime ban list, I like that because they did. They were out of baseball for the rest of their lives. They've served it. I think we've both had the same take. Let's recognize them for what they did for baseball, even if they made a mistake. You know? Sorry to cut in on what your question was, but I just wanted to make the point that I think the 1919 Black Sox coming off that list is almost a much bigger deal. But it won't be as talked about.
I think it actually makes for a good social clip. Hint. But
people will
it kind of raises the question of it's fine. But it kind of raises like, is a lifetime ban till death, or is it permanent beyond death? So, you take any member of the 1919 White Sox hasn't been alive for at least 50 years. You get Pete Rose. Pete Rose passed away back in September, so you kind of have like the lifetime. What's the validity of the term lifetime?
So
where would you put the validity of the term lifetime in that?
So I actually am very pro. You shouldn't get to reap the benefits while you're alive. But your lifetime does end when you're dead, right? Like if I died tomorrow, my lifetime's done tomorrow. I hope I don't die tomorrow. That'd be really fucked up if it happens now. But your lifetime is your lifetime ban. Like you're banned for as long as you remain alive. Because you should not get to reap the benefits of being the Hall of Famer. Regardless of if your stats say you are or not. You know? I think when it's posthumous, posthumous, however you say after death.
Posthumous.
Posthumous. Thank you. When it's posthumous, your family gets to see the MLB paint. Because let's be real, the MLB always paints, and every Hall of Fame, when they induct you into the Hall of Fame, they paint you in the best possible light and what you did for their sport, right? Because there's definitely dudes in the NBA Hall of Fame. There's definitely dudes in the NFL Hall of Fame that are not good people or didn't do good things. But it is about your achievement in the sport. And I think the deterrent of you won't get to reap that benefit in your lifetime and never get to see that thing that, let's be real, short of getting pro, that's probably your next goal. Like, be good enough to be in the Hall of Fame, right? Like, being a pro is probably here. The Hall of Fame is that reach goal that I think every player has. Obviously, most will not achieve it. That's part of what makes the Hall of Fame that cool, that enticing to actually want to be a member of that very elite club. And that's why I think once you've passed away, you don't get that benefit. So you may get in, you may not get in. But you know if you're banned for life, you're not getting in, and you're never going to get to see that plaque with your own two eyes. And that, I think, is the deterrent and where Manfred's going with it. I don't think he really vaguely cares for... I mean, I think also, in both instances, ironically, both groups of people we're talking about that have been pulled off that list are gambling related. Now, again, it's really hard because, believe it or not, I was not at the 1919 World Series. Believe it or not. So you don't actually know who threw it and who didn't throw it, right? You can make assumptions based on looking at numbers and stuff, but you don't. You don't know who actually did and who didn't. And I think that's kind of the problems with the White Sox specifically. And, like, Pete Rose, you know he gambled on baseball because he said, hey, I fucked up, I gambled on baseball. He admitted it.
Yeah.
Now, I think the fact he's the MLB all-time hit leader, he deserves to be in the Hall. Yes, he did some stupid shit, but he deserves to be in the Hall. I think the 1919 Black Sox, if their stats stand alone, spare the 1919 World Series itself, are deemed good enough to be worthy of Hall of Fame recognition, they should also get that opportunity because they served their lifetime ban. They passed away. They never get to see it. And actually, at this point, even their kids never got to see it.
Yeah, at least two generations past now.
So, in their case, I think them coming off the list is better because there might be someone related to any of those 8 that might actually have a chance to see their great-great-grandfather step into the Hall of Fame where, frankly, if you're going to be voted in, you deserve it. So if they deserve it, they deserve it. Especially now that they're well passed away and everything. Like, they served their ban. You shouldn't make their families and their stats or records serve the ban beyond their lives, is my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's like Hall of Fames are supposed to tell the story of a sport or whatever, both the positive and the negative.
So I do believe there is something.
They're doing
about
this with steroid era guys now. They're doing this with steroid users now.
Exactly.
Right, so
I believe the
my argument here is
Black Sox are in Cooperstown, like as this event occurred.
Yeah, but like no player on their own playing record is in there.
And that's where my point comes from, Alex. Like, and I'm using Shoeless Joe Jackson because by most accounts I've read, he's the only one that consistently is like, nah, bro, I didn't do it. And actually looking at his numbers were pretty good, if I remember correctly. Like
I'm gonna pull him up right now.
I'm also going to pull him up. Shoeless. Also, he has one of the best nicknames in all sports, and I want him to be in MLB The Show, so he will be my left fielder forever.
Obviously. He had
So his last appearance was in 1920 for the White Sox, naturally. And he passed away in 51. He was young. He was 64. But
yeah. I'm looking at these home run RBI splits real quick. Think about it. This is a different era of baseball where he had
also
3 homers and 90 RBIs.
Damn. Also, can I just
12 and 1
cut him for 1
contact,
second?
bro.
In 1921, a Chicago jury acquitted Jackson and his 7 teammates of wrongdoing. So, legally speaking, they didn't fix the World Series. So, that alone, yeah, but looking at his splits, right? He played 1,300 games. He had 1,700 hits. I'm not great at math, but that means he had more than a hit per game, which is wild. He only had 54 career home runs. That's insane.
I mean, you got to think about how baseball was played back then, though.
Also, the fact that he played at the fucking Polo Grounds. Like, if they played... When he played for Philly, he would have played at the Polo Grounds when they played the Dodgers. Yes. No, Giants. Giants played at the Polo Grounds, right?
Yeah.
So he also had to
I'm
play
gonna do
at the
some math
Polo
real quick here.
His batting average was career batting average 356.
So he averaged a hit, 1.3 hits per game. If we calculate that.
Pretty good.
I think going back to my point about Hall of Fames is that you're putting in the players that contributed on the field, regardless of you don't put a character clause in there, so to speak.
Again, that's why I like the
character clause of Hall of Fame voting is the crux of it.
So, for reference, do you know where? Well, you do if you look at my screen or the shared screen for the call here. But do you know where Shoeless Joe Jackson rates on all-time batting average career? What rank he's at? Without Googling.
Top 15?
Give me a smaller group.
7.
Higher. Well, technically lower. 4th.
Top 10.
4th. His career batting average is 355.8. He's the only players with a better career batting average are Ty Cobb, Oster Charleston, and Roger Hornsby. 7th or 4th. 7th is Turkey Stearns, my boy. By the way, Ken Williams is tied for 10th. There's only in the top 20. We're going to play a fun game. 1. Can you tell me how many of the top 20 career batting average guys are not in the Hall of Fame?
Out of how many?
Out of the top 20.
Like
Exactly 4. That's insane. And the 4 are number 16, Pete Browning, number 14, David Orr, number 6, Lefty O'Doul, and number 4, Joe Jackson, who I think would have been in the Hall of Fame. Pete Browning played in the early days of baseball, like till 1894. Dave Orr also played in the early days of baseball, like pre-1900s. Lefty O'Doul played in
After
the
this, I'm gonna go to
20s,
some.
30s. And then your boy Joe Jackson played until in the 10s and 20s. Like, yeah, was that the best era of baseball? No. Dude still batted .356 though. Career. Dudes are in the Hall. And again, I realize that batting average isn't everything, but Stan Musial was a .330 hitter. .331 after rounding. Like, there are dudes that, and I realize that batting average isn't everything. I gotta see where he rated on the RBIs now. Sorry.
Oh, what are you doing? Oh, I hate the shift, but my screen's been on Twitter for the last like 20 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And I meant to actually look at the whole schedule, but what do you think about some guy tweeted the Greensboro Gargoyles in the North Division of the ECHL?
All right. So I was thinking about this today at work. I have to see where this is one of the most modern ones. This is the one that's my background at work. One of my backgrounds at work. So, Greensboro, North Carolina is roughly here. Now, so the North Division, you have to have 8. There's only two divisions with 7 teams. It's the North and the South, or the Central and the South right now, because the Mountain has 8, because it has Idaho, Tahoe, Utah, Rapid City, Wichita, Tulsa, Allen, and Kansas City. Now, I think what's going to happen is Greensboro in the North means that your North Division is Trois-Rivières, Portland, being the main Mariners, Worcester, Adirondack, Reading, Norfolk, and Wheeling. Now, Norfolk and Greensboro are decently close, and Wheeling's probably not that much further either. The South Division is probably the Central Division is the most clustered because it's Bloomington's in Illinois. So the Central Division is Toledo, Cincinnati, Indy, Fort Wayne, Kazoo, Iowa, and Bloomington. So what I think is, with recently announced, like in the last couple weeks, New Mexico's getting a team, Rio Ranchero, New Mexico. They will obviously
They're next year, right? Like,
yeah, 26.
26.
Yeah. So what'll happen is, it also depends on where the 32nd potential market is. We'll adjust shifts. But with the 31 market system, I can see one of two things happening. Kansas City is going to get slotted back to the Central. That's going to happen guaranteed. They used to be in the Central up until like the year or two before I worked in the ECHL the first time with Manchester. So Kansas City is going to slide back into the Central. That'll happen. So you'll have 8-8. Depending on where they put the new team, they'll probably slide Greensboro back to the south, or to the south, and Norfolk will stay in the north and just have kind of a shitty life. And then but let's say they expand, and I'm picking a random city. My favorite random city is Cheyenne, Wyoming. Just because there's no professional sports teams in Wyoming, just like there's no professional sports teams in Kentucky. Well, there is. There's professional women's soccer in Kentucky. But to my knowledge, there's actually nothing in Wyoming. So that's where they place a team, right? Good, great, grand. Cincinnati used to be in the basically what is the North Division of the Eastern Conference. Way back in the day, that would be a move I could see them trying to make. Now that travel would suck because Cincinnati to Worcester is like 14 plus hours on a bus. To Portland, Maine, you're probably looking at 17 or 18. And then Trois-Rivières, Quebec, I don't know. Infinite amount of time because you have to go to friggin' Quebec. What were you saying?
Probably add 4 hours if you're going from Portland.
Well, so I think I remember Montreal from Manchester, New Hampshire was roughly 3.5 to 4 hours, depending on how much shit you dealt with at the border. 12 years, another hour from that. Maybe not a whole hour, but about another hour from there.
Assuming you have to drive in and or around Montreal to get up there.
You have to drive through Montreal because Trois-Rivières.
Yeah.
For you, Alex, maps. Montreal is here. Trois-Rivières is here. So it's.
Are you putting maps on the? I can't see maps.
It's just for you. It's just for you. It's northeast.
I'm on the wrong screen. It's loaded. Discord's being slow.
It's an hour and a half. It's 142 kilometers from Montreal, Quebec's city center, to Trois-Rivières, Quebec's city center. Waba Plays comes in with his 52nd month subs while we're talking about the geography of Quebec. Cool. Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. But you unsub. Hey, I'm not speaking French yet. But there it goes.
The way you just scaled that out.
What?
Like, so you zoom that back in where it looks like incredible. Also, I like how it's called auto roof 40. So, let's talk about that. Canada actually got it right.
Waba Plays just wasted 52 months subbed to this.
Via auto route. It's French. I bet if we did like a place in Ottawa, it would say like via route or highway or something. But yeah, it's up Canada 40.
We planned the whole geography lesson of Canada today, definitely.
Look, but so switching to New Mexico, Rio Ranchero is Albuquerque, by the way, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, man, my favorite chemistry teacher lives there.
No, he lives in a different part of town, buddy. He lives in Los Ranchos. Not the same.
You know what my favorite conspiracy theory is about television? While you put this up?
What is your favorite television conspiracy theory, sir?
There's a plausibility that the coexistence of High School Musical and the events of Breaking Bad are within the same timeline in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I think that's fantastic.
It's great. It's great.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure he lives in Los Ranchos or one of these neighborhoods over here. Rio Ranchero's way the hell up here.
Look how like nicely land ordinance some of these neighborhoods are.
It's almost like it was part of the country that was pre-planned before they built shit there. I've been to New Mexico once.
What do you know about the land ordinance of 1787? Exactly. You don't.
Ooh, so here's the thing.
That's why the Midwest looks like why it does.
Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure this was part of the Louisiana. I'm pretty sure I live in part of the Louisiana Purchase.
I'm pretty sure you didn't. Or do.
Nope. Wow, it's way further west than I thought it was. Look at that. I didn't realize that.
I still felt just riffing on this, and there's no context on the other side of just.
That's fine. Can you please do me a huge favor, Alex, when you edit this? Can you just edit in the map of the Louisiana Purchase on the bottom for just like 30 seconds?
I'll just cut I'll just make a space and just put the map there. Nothing behind it, and just map.
Look, we try to educate sometimes on this show. But going back to the point that I was making, and I wish I could find a more modern ECHL cities map than this one, because it still has Newfoundland on it. I think Greensboro in the North Division, which quite literally was the start of this conversation 10 minutes ago, is fine. Now, they are very close to a lot of the South Division teams, Charleston being the Stingrays, Greenville being the Swamp Rabbits. I think that's fine because you can play a lot of your out-of-conference games, much like Wheeling plays Cincinnati, Indy, and Toledo for their out-of-conference games. They play a lot of their games with those three teams. It's a good way to knock off your out-of-conference games without having to add a lot of unnecessary travel. And I think that's the biggest thing. Because, like, yeah, it's cool to go to, like, Utah or Boise or, I don't know, Rapid City seems like a cool city. It's called Rapid City. It's got to be cool. Those sort of teams would be great. It'd be cool to get to go to travel to those places. But much like when we worked for the arena team, I think our guys would have been much happier if Maine had stuck around in the league. And one of their away games was just puddle hopping 2.5 hours by bus to Maine. Or if Albany had come into our league, go like 2.5, 3 hours to Albany by bus. Like, nice, easy trip. I know our equipment team would have appreciated it.
Even then, it's like kind of our overarching point about things in general is that a lot of the teams at the level that we've worked in are essentially smaller businesses, like at their whole. So it's like you can't control how long a brand's going to be in one spot before they have to shift gears and move around and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's a valid point too. Like, which is why the division you're in, I think on a minor league level, is way more important than the division you're in at like the major leagues because you're playing every team anyway in the major leagues. Whereas in the minor leagues, your division is most of who you play. So, like, Wheeling got a little bit of a short stick by being punted to the North Division last year because Norfolk and Reading were their two closest teams. And then you had to go up to New England for the Railers and the Mariners, or go over to Glens Falls, New York for the Thunder. And then you had to be the only team that knew you had to go to Canada because Trois-Rivières is the only Canadian team in the league. You have to go to Canada if you're in the North Division. you know you have to travel internationally and take on a whole host of extra issues that I can only imagine has to go with bringing a whole friggin' team international. I've never done it myself. I don't know what the process is. I don't want to know what the process is. But it's got to be a pain in the
Kind
ass
of one of those.
to do.
Honestly, it's kind of one of those things I do want to experience, just to kind of see what it's like.
I would like to be a
It's a
fly
lot
on
of
the
the
wall.
legit.
I would like to be a fly on the wall for
Yeah,
something like
not-
that,
yeah.
but I don't want to
I
be
wouldn't want to
responsible
be,
for it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I think most
At least
things in this industry
At least-
outside of my selling world, I would love to be a fly on the wall for these things. I would
Yeah, even then,
absolutely
it's
love to be a fly on the wall for some of these things.
I mean,
Affiliate
I think
deals, I
going
would
back to the
love to be
arena
a fly
team,
on the
right?
wall for.
Did I ever tell you that the ops director at that time was like vouching for me to travel
Yes.
for like 2 years and it just never happened?
Yes.
Oh, I wouldn't want to. I feel like I'd just be bored at a hotel bar while everyone else was just doing
Yeah.
shit. So,
You probably would.
but any last closing riffs, or do you want to just set the scene for the next little bit?
Let's set the scene, sir. That's your department. I just show up and say words.
So, all right, next week I will not be near my desk. I'm gonna be lost in Boston at that point. I'm going to the Red Sox, so no pod that next week unless something unforeseen comes up, or we decide to do something else. But probably not. In the interim, throw me off there, bud.
Welcome to live production.
But very big days coming up, sir. If you recall.
I believe we're about to hit 1 year of doing this shenanigans.
We've done it on a very part-time capacity, but 1 year is 1 year in my book. So
yeah,
anything
no pod
you
522.
wanna reflect?
That'll get tweeted out as well. 529. Do you want to do quiz round 2? I'll give you 2 weeks this time because I gave you a week last time, and you could only write 9 questions. I'm not gonna forget that.
Yeah, we do trivia, and then we'll probably work in something else.
Trivia and
If you
some
wanna run a
grids.
little bit
We'll
longer.
do some trivia, some grids, and if any big news or we come up with something that's like important to the off season, or working in sports that we realize, hey, we haven't talked about that at all. And again, purely on the basis of front office staff members, and because we're both pretty low level staff members. But kind of what the world's like for us.
Then every so often we'll mix in something else if we don't feel like doing that, but we try to stick in our lane of what we've been doing.
College football 26, we'll do some of that. We will build a school before we even go, so we won't be using a school. We'll build a school. Don't worry. We'll come up with some good designs and cook up something good. The team will be garbage.
Question for you.
All right.
I just gotta find it. I did ask it in a group chat this morning, so if you didn't see it, can you name 3 FCS schools that own Penn State?
Oh, Harvard, Yale, and
You're in the right conference. I'll give you that.
is the last one Princeton?
Yeah, but
I think
can you name the one Ohio school that is undefeated against Penn State?
I cannot. Can you give me a?
Probably your favorites.
I was gonna say, can you give me a region of the state?
I gotta have a map in front of me, so I don't remember the geography of such states.
Can you give me their conference?
They're a MAC school.
That narrows it down almost none.
It narrows it down significantly. I'll tell you now, it's not Ohio State.
Well, I know that. But you realize that the MAC Ohio schools are Ohio, Miami, Toledo, Akron,
all right,
and Bowling Green.
But what do you think?
I'm going to say undisputed against Penn State. I'm going to go with Bowling Green.
Shit. Do you have like a wrong sound effect on there?
I do not, but I can get one. Give me 1 second.
I'm gonna give you a hint. That's gonna. Yeah. All right. So the last hint I'll give you.
Give me a
This
single color in their uniforms. Like primary
I'm
color.
gonna give you you want it? Navy.
All right. So it's not Miami. It's not Ohio. So it's
I have a hint that goes with it though.
So it's either Akron or Toledo.
I have a hint that goes with it. It'll give it away. But you won.
It's Toledo.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it was the city in question made an appearance on the show AP Bio.
Speaking of that, did you see that the Office spinoff is also going to be based in Toledo?
I saw that it got announced. I didn't read into it yet.
Yep, it's going to be based in Toledo. So I will be watching it, and I hope that they go to walleye hockey games. I'm not going to lie to you. Because, going back to your AP Bio, I want you to know the first thing I noticed when they went to the walleye game, the first thing I did is figure out who they played. It was spoiler alert, it was Fort Wayne.
I figured that out. I asked you that question really quick.
Yeah,
I watched that episode.
No, I know, but I watched the episode and I was like, "Oh, it's Fort Wayne." Yes, I think you sent me a single screenshot and I was like, "Oh, that's the Fort Wayne Comets with a K."
I do think it was. I do think it was cool that they were able to get the licensing for that, though.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't get Fort Wayne's licensing, I believe. I don't think they ever.
I think they did.
I don't know because I don't think they ever said Fort Wayne. I think they just wore the uniforms and heavily implied that it was Fort Wayne. Also, they used game footage. They probably went to the ECHL and the ECHL was like, "Fuck yeah, you can use whatever the fuck you want." Again, I don't know. I wasn't a part of any of those conversations. Again, would love to be. That'd be really cool. Or be a fly on the wall for them. But
What?
that's all I have, Alex. Do you have anything else before we actually cast our net off for the week?
No, that's it.
Alrighty, well, I may or may not be live on Tuesday. Otherwise, we'll be back in 2 weeks on Thursday the 29th. That's how math works?
Yeah, sounds about right. That's how math should work, right?
Yeah. Yep. So, if I'm not live on either of the Tuesdays leading up to it, we will be here on the 29th and doing Trivia Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. And that's literally going to be the title of it. I don't care. You have no input on the titles for that one. But I cooked a really good question for you. That part of the answer I gave you was in Trivia 1. Just saying.
All right.
That's a little teaser for you. As always,
All right.
Have a good one, buddy.
It's good enough.